Hi, my name is Norman, and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel, His Nibs. Here we take a look at the world of writing instruments, most especially fountain pens. Please feel free to add any comments below. If you enjoy what you see, I'd love for you to like and share the videos and click on the bell icon to be notified of new ones as they come out. Now, let's get started.
Hey everybody, Norman of His Nibs here. Although I don't plan on finishing this video tonight, I did want to start tonight because it's July 20th, 2025, the anniversary of July 20th, 1969, when Michael Collins, Buzz Aldrin, and of course Neil Armstrong went to the moon. Neil and Buzz landed today. This is the anniversary of their landing, and still one of the highlight memories of my life. I happened to be in a body cast at that time, but the TV was brought into my room and my parents were there, and it was quite late at night, and it was one of the most exciting events ever in my life to see Neil come down the ladder onto the moon's surface. And just about 6 or 7 years ago, I had the great privilege of meeting one of my childhood heroes, Buzz Aldrin. He was born in Glen Ridge, New Jersey. That's where I was raised. He was raised in Montclair, New Jersey, the town next to Glen Ridge, and I lived in Montclair subsequently for about 20 years. And again, 6 or 7 years ago, I think, they renamed the middle school in Montclair for Buzz. And so I attended a ceremony there and a reception for him. Got to shake his hand and say hi, and it was just a thrill. You don't usually get to meet your heroes. And in many ways, he was a boyhood hero. Anyway, this is all preamble to the fact that I wanted to start this video on July 20th, which commemorates a great American historical event in the space program, because the pen we'll be looking at is from China, and it's the Hongdian WA35, which commemorates the Chinese space program in many ways, in many respects, and we'll get into that in more detail. But I mean, there's a rocket ship on the clip, and there are all sorts of satellites and rockets engraved on the barrel, and the overlay is it is made to represent longitude and latitude over the planet Earth. And we will also be taking a look at the nib, which has some very interesting features to commemorate space travel from whatever country. So I just wanted to get this on video prior to the end of July 20th. And I will see you shortly. So let's take a look at the Hongdian WA35. It's stainless steel construction, but they mention that it has an electroplated finish which resists corrosion, specifically from sweat. So if you sweat a lot when you're writing with your pens, this will resist corrosion. The design has been inspired by the People's Republic of China space exploration. Excuse my thumb, which got mashed earlier today. Now all you're going to do is look at my thumb. Okay. So the barrel is engraved with like a satellite motif, and there are spaceships, And a possible lander. Perhaps a moon lander. And there's a clear rocket ship there. And that looks like a lander. They're somewhat stylized, so it's a little hard to get a definite appraisal of what everything is. But it's interesting to spend time looking at it. The grid pattern on the cap is inspired, they say, by the longitude and latitude lines. Inspired by, because that's not what latitude and longitude lines look like around a globe, but apparently that's maybe a world map underneath. Again, very hard to see, and they don't really describe that in any great detail on any of the websites that I have seen. So the cap has the red star, and the top finial is a red plastic, slightly convex, as is the barrel end finial. And you'll see these kind of inscribed lines on the base, the end of the barrel. This is a cartridge converter, so this is not a piston knob. And you have somewhat similar lines here at the top. And on the clip, let's see if we can get a little closer. And where's my pointer? I don't have my pointer handy, but on the clip you'll see the star again, but not colorized as it is here. And this is some kind of a spaceship at the base of the clip. It's very hard to make out, but the websites describe it as a spaceship. So I'll take their word for it. And the Kappan characters, Hongdian on the front underneath the star, and the model number WA35. But the characters, I had my wife take a look at these. And very often characters are just inspirational. There's not a direct translation. But basically what she could get out of it is an artistic creation in the sky, or perhaps in space. And then actually one of the websites said, and now that I see the colors underneath the lines, it says military grade digital camouflage. So I guess it's not really a world map. It does look like from a camouflage uniform. Interesting. And this is supposedly from the Space Cultural Collection. It's a limited edition astronaut series. And apparently it's a joint venture between the Chinese military and the Chinese space program. And maybe it was these Kappan characters somewhere on here. My wife said it said basically space is so vast, only slowly conquered and don't stop. So, removing the cap shows the most interesting part to me, which is the nib. And I guess I should get a little closer again. And okay, focus. So around the breather hole, it's very interesting, is the solar system. So the breather hole basically would represent the sun, and you see the various planets of the solar system orbiting the sun, including Saturn. And why are you going out of focus on me? Don't do that. Okay, this is a brand new camera and phone as of 2 days ago. So I haven't played with it too much. Hongdian below that. And then below that, a definite spaceship. I'm sorry about this. Okay. A definite spaceship. And you have these inscribed lines again, which provide, on a metal section, provide a nice grip. And here are those lines again, as you see, elongated on the barrel end, where you would if this camera would stay in focus. And as I said, it's a cartridge converter. And we'll do a little bit of writing with this because I have a new ink in there that I want to show off. And you also have the nib size below the spaceship on the nib, in this case an F. I believe these only come, at least to this point, in EF or F. So we will continue. Well, let me go around the barrel one more time, if it will please stay in focus for us. And you'll see some of the engraving. It's a fascinating barrel to stare at over time and see new things as your eye drifts over the barrel. All right, I've already filled the pen with the ink, but here's the ink. It's my first Ferris wheel press ink. Love the look of the bottles, and as everyone else complains, a really stupid design. So easy to tip over when you're trying to fill. You have to be super careful. So this is appearance over functionality. And this is Tunes of Tinseltown, which is, it's a little too green for me. I was hoping more of a turquoise, but it's a, as you can probably see from the bottom, before you shake it up, it's a shimmer ink. And I like it. It's just not quite the color that I saw on the website. So let's, usually with shimmer inks I like to put them in broad nibs, but that wasn't, or at least medium. That wasn't an option with this pen, this being an F. So this is the Hongdian WA35 model. And so we put in this Ferris wheel press ink, and what did I say this was called? Tunes of Tinseltown. The significance of that escapes me. Let's see if you can see some of the shimmer. Not really on this paper, a little bit. On other papers I've used it on, it's been more pronounced. But it's quite a dark green. And again, I was hoping for more of a turquoise with shimmer. And in the comments, if anybody wants to make a suggestion for a nice bluish green turquoise with shimmer from whatever pen company, ink company, please let me know. Yeah, it's not really showing up too well on this paper. Let me see. Yeah, a little bit more. Shimmer is a little bit more visible on this little piece of note paper. So, almost no flex or variation with this particular nib. But as all Hongdian nibs, it's very smooth and a consistent ink flow. Writer. I really have never gotten a bad Hongdian nib, this one included. So that's a little overview of this pen, and I think I will take a look with you at another pen from Hongdian, which I've had for well over a year but have never reviewed. And that's this one. Very intricate engraving. And its companion pen that came out shortly thereafter, this one. The only difference being one has the gold background and the finial and the red star. And I think initially they got some negative feedback about the red star and perhaps the Chinese Communist Party, so they came out with this more silver backed and uncolored star. But we'll take a look at these momentarily. So before showing off these and taking a look at these Hongdian 100 models, I thought I would give one more attempt to show off this new Ferris wheel press. Tunes of Tinseltown Sparkle Ink. And even the box is attractive. Now I was going to set up a clamp system for this bottle so it doesn't fall over, but I decided I wasn't going to spend the time. However, rather than a broad nib pen, it occurred to me I could take one of the new Asvine C80s and this green sparkle pen with a stub nib would be the perfect one to choose. So let's shake this. It's even shaking it falls over. Let me get this started prepared first. Okay. So let me shake this up. Make sure the sparkle particles or sparticles are fully suspended in the ink. Okay. Hold this for dear life. Hope this fits. It sort of fits. I don't know how much ink I'm going to get in this. And basically none. All right. So that didn't work. So let's go to Plan B. We will fill the converter directly with some of this sparkle ink. Let's use a piston syringe. All right, we got a little. It's good enough. Let me cap this before my grandfather's desk is permanently ruined. I need a third hand. All right, we transferred from that to the converter. And hopefully some sparkle survived. Let me prime the pump a little bit. Hopefully. Okay, we're getting some ink to the feed. Where's the barrel? Here's the barrel. I may have to dip this in the ink. Let's see. Oh, right. First time, every time. So this is the beautiful number 8 1.1 stub nib that we created. And I say we because I was instrumental in getting a stub nib produced for Asfine. And let's see how incredibly smooth nib. And I hope these sparkles show up, or this is a wasted 5 minutes. But you had nothing better to do anyway, neither did I. Okay, does it? Yeah, on the lines, okay, you can see some sparkle. Thank God. Still, this is not the color I wanted. I wanted more of a blue-green turquoise. This is quite dark green. But I think you can see the sparkle. Hopefully you can see the sparkle in this Asfine sparkle pen, green sparkle pen. So I just wanted to do that before moving on to taking a look at the Hongdian 100. And actually I have 3 of the Asfine C80s now. There are several other colors as well, and we'll take a look at this in a future look at these in a future review. But I will If you can't wait, I will link in the description to their availability on Amazon. So now on to the Hongdian 100. Okay, so we started this video, and the main focus of this video, of course, was the commemorative space program, Chinese space program pen. And it just made me think of these two earlier pens. Actually, I've probably had these a couple years now without doing a review. And very similar in size. And they certainly feel somewhat similar in weight, but let's take a look. Now this has a bit of ink in it. And this comes in at... Okay, it comes in at nothing. Let me do that again. That was a very light pen. Okay, 42.6. And this that has no ink in it comes in at 48.7, 48.8. So a little bit heavier. The 100 is a stainless steel pen, and this is the first one I received with a very prominent red star, and really commemorating the history of China. And my supposition is that there was perhaps some negative reaction to this red star, that it was a little too blatant for what is now communist China. So they subsequently, I believe, came out with this version, which is not colored, other than the finial is a kind of an orange, kind of a gold background to it, but the star itself is uncolored. Otherwise, as far as I can tell, they are identical. These are piston fillers, as opposed to this one, which was cartridge converter. Just some of the very intricate representations on this pen. You have the Temple of Heaven. You have the Great Wall. I'm not pointing these out as I mention them because I'm looking through the camera and it's a little hard to see. You have mountains, bamboo, etc. And this is I would say the clip itself is representative of a ancient Chinese blade, sword blade. And if you follow the link in the description to this pen, you'll see a lot of close-up photographs on Amazon. And you'll really get a chance to see what all the design elements of this were. The cap is actually heavier than the pen, the barrel and pen itself. I'm sorry, I misspoke. The pen barrel is round figures about 30 grams, and the cap is about 20 grams. So you're getting up close to 50 grams to round it up. You saw the exact measurement earlier. Screw cap, as you just saw. ink window, which is very helpful. Rather large ink window. And let's do the piston. Hopefully you'll see it up here in the ink window. There we go. With my finger in the background. Quite a long travel, so I think quite a capacity to this pen. I have inked neither, or used neither. The really beautiful nib as the Temple of Heaven from the Forbidden City, which I visited once many years ago. Intricately engraved on the steel nib. And this first one was an extra fine. Well, they're all fine. They're all extra fine, no matter the size of the nibs. Hongdian really does a great job with their nibs. And the plain star version that I subsequently got is an F, but it's a long blade or long knife nib. And you can see how it's cut and shaped differently, somewhat like an architect nib. So it's going to produce thinner downstrokes and wider side strokes, kind of the opposite of a typical stub nib. And I suppose we should fill one of these and write with it. It's a very comfortable pen. I like that it has a little bit of weight. The cap can be posted and quite deeply, so there's not really a problem with turning this and turning the piston knob at the same time, because it fits quite deeply and beyond the piston knob. But the weight of the cap definitely back weights the pen. It's usable, and for those that insist on posting their caps for short writing endeavors, it's manageable. But I wouldn't find it pleasant for long writing sessions. So that's a brief overview, and let me find some appropriate ink to put into one of these. Probably this one, because of the long blade, long knife nib, more interesting line than the extra fine. But also I have a feeling I want to keep this one, the original, pristine and unused for the future. So I'll be back un momento. Okay, let's take a quick look at one of these 100s filled with ink. And I think I'll do what I'm calling the monotone one, because this is the one that has the long life or long blade nib, which is a little more interesting. And maybe I'll keep this original in its pristine condition for historical reasons. And we can hopefully you can see a little bit more of the sparkle in this ink, but not so much. So all right, I'm pulling out an ink that I haven't used in probably 20 years, and hopefully this isn't solidified in the bottle. Candy Apple Red from Private Reserve ink. Private Reserve I sold for many years. Eventually, Jaffa purchased it and incorporated it into all of their inks. Very simple label, as you can see in Private Reserve's first early years and iterations. And hopefully this will function properly after all these years. Come on. Can't even get that off. All right. Well, this will be an experiment as to whether this ink has maintained its inkiness. That's a technical term, inkiness. So let's use this 100. Again, these are piston fillers. And let's see what happens. And I didn't get any ink. Hey, that's great. If you see my arms glistening with perspiration, it is 11:30 at night here in Allentown, PA, and it's still in the 90s and very humid. We've been in the midst of a horrible heat wave. And tomorrow the temperatures are finally supposed to break. Oh, come on. Why am I not getting any ink? All right, I'm going to try one more time with this old crusty ink. Okay, got some that time. I guess I needed to angle the bottle more. And let's do a quick wipe. Again, very attractive engraving on these nibs of the Temple of Heaven, which is, I think I may have mentioned earlier, I visited in the Forbidden City back in, let's see, 1988, after competing in the Paralympics in table tennis in Seoul, South Korea. I went on a little tour of China. Okay. Oh my God. This is not the pen, believe me. It's the ink. I think all of the ink, even though there's a, oops, where'd that come from? Okay. Even though there's quite a bit of liquid in the bottle, I think all of the real ink itself, the solid parts of the ink solids, are solid at the bottom of the bottle. So what am I going to do before I die from perspiration? And I wanted to finish this video tonight before that death occurs. This is the fun part, isn't it? Seeing all the behind the scenes machinations. Let's do this Mont Blanc ink. Love these bottles. Always have, because you can fill the front section by tipping over the bottle. And this is not candy apple red, but maybe it'll serve in its stead. Now we got some ink on there. Look at that. Beautiful. That's always one of the nicest sights to me, is a freshly inked nib with the ink still on the nib. Alright, let's see how this works. Oh, much better. Okay. Yeah, that ink bottle, I think, will go the way of, I was going to say the dodo bird, but they're thinking of bringing those back right after the mammoth. They're looking at the dodo bird. Okay, and this is the Hongdian 100. The long knife or long blade nib. Again, this is shaped, cut, a bit like what we would recognize as an architect nib. Sorry for the jostling. Okay, you can get a really clear look at the shape of the nib there, as opposed to the conventional extra fine on top. So, as I am just dripping all over my desk, which I'm sure you wanted to know about, I'm going to bring this too long video to a close. But while I have it on the, let's take a closer look at some of the engraving. Really very intricate and very attractive on the Hongdian 100. You can see the Great Wall up there, and the Great Wall down here as well. I finally found my pointer. And just a really lovely pen. And like all Hongdians, in my experience, they write like true champs. And I thank you for paying attention through all of this and the ink mishaps. And hopefully I will survive until tomorrow. Our power's gone out more than once, especially when we have a couple of air conditioners on. So, enough of my brain, my brain, I can't even speak anymore. My brain is hot, so I can't speak. So, until the next time, take care.